Hi there everyone and welcome to this week's GuitarQuest live stream lesson. So this week we are going to be finishing off GuitarQuest 3, a Guitar Odyssey. It's been quite a few weeks we've been working on this one, so I think this is week 29. So obviously as the content gets harder we spend a little bit more time on it, but it's cool, you know, we're at the end now, and yeah, so if you have come this far, then you should be very proud of yourselves, and hopefully you've got from it what you wanted. So today we'll just go back over the final couple of exercises. I want to talk a little bit about tuning the guitar by ear, and then if there's time, we'll go back over a couple of exercises from earlier in the book, which focus on some of the newer ideas that you know, that we've sort of discussed as we worked our way through. But before we get started on that, let's check our tuning first. So we've got a bottom E string. Just try and make sure you are in tune with that. And then A. Okay, and then D. G, and then a B, and finally our top E. Okay, cool. So hopefully we're all in tune. Remember, just posturally, try not to let that guitar slide away from you. Try and keep it fairly upright if possible. And to kick things off, as a bit of a warm-up, we are going to do or play through the notes in the 5th position. So looking at page 22, we're going to start on the C, 3rd string, 5th fret, and we're going to work our way up to the C, 1st string, 8th fret. And then back again. And we're not going to repeat the note at the top, so if I just demonstrate quickly, we can go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then straight back down again. But we're going to go a little bit slower. So, after 4, let's take it away. Here we go. Okay, so 3, 4. Straight back down again. Okay, so a couple of things just to watch out for would be we're adopting a kind of one finger per fret idea. So when we start on the C with the 1st finger, it means when we go to the D at the 7th fret, we're going to be on the 3rd finger, not the 2nd or the pinky or anything like that. To be honest, in my teaching experience, it's unlikely people are going to use the pinky more than they absolutely have to. So if you were going to use any other finger, it would probably be the middle one. So try and avoid that. And then obviously when we go on to notes on the 2nd string, we're going to go 1st finger, F is at the 6th fret, so it'll be middle finger, and then try and make sure we use the pinky. We want to try and develop the strength in that finger as much as possible. And then the 1st string would be 1st finger, 3rd finger, and pinky again. Then on the right hand, remember we always want to be trying to do our walking fingers kind of thing, so always alternating between the index and the middle. It doesn't necessarily matter which finger you start on, whether you go index, middle, and so on. It can be worth starting, you know, if you tend to always go on the index finger to start off with, try starting on the middle finger, so again you just get more comfortable with it as you go. So yeah, there'd be a couple of things to watch out for and think about, but that's pretty much it. So that's our warm-up. So the 2 exercises I was going to have a go at then today were 28 and 29. So we covered both of these over the last week or two. So let's start with number 28. The thing to watch out for here, or a couple of things, would be we're in the 5th position. So we want to keep practicing these notes up around the area we were just playing. Every line is played twice. And then when we get to the well, I say every line. The lines 1, 2 and 3 are played twice, and then the final line is once through, but that's where we've got the semi-quavers, so they're going to be twice as quick, and you can play them with pull-offs if you want. So if I just demonstrate, so we're going to go 1, 2, so those were the pull-offs there. So I just pluck the first note, pull off, and get the open string for the second note, same there, and do the same there. If you find that a bit too much, you could just pluck the notes. That's fine. You know, whatever works for you at this stage. So obviously, as we move on, like when we're going to GuitarQuest 4, one of the key things we're talking about a bit more is going to be semi-quavers and trying to get the fingers moving a little bit faster and things. So, but you know, all in good time. We will come on to that shortly. So, so yeah, let's have a go. So we're going to start on the G, 2nd string, 8th fret. We'll take it nice and slow, playing it all in its entirety. So here we go. Starting on the G after 4. So 3, 4. Down to the E, B, and then C. I'm going to repeat that line. And the second line. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Up to the C. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to repeat. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And up to the C again. 2, 3, 4, and then the third line. And repeat that line. To the last line. 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. So hopefully that was all okay. I forgot to mention actually that on the last line we dropped back to our normal playing position. One of the reasons for doing that is to make it a bit easier, basically. Otherwise, if we were going to play it up here, we'd have to move our hand around a little bit, and I felt like that was probably a little bit unfair at this stage. So hopefully that all made sense, was all okay. Yeah, so that's that really. If you've got any questions, obviously you do feel free to ask away. I forgot to mention that at the start actually, so we've got the chat function, so please do use it if you have any questions. But otherwise, we're going to move on. So the final exercise in the book, which we talked about last time, and this one is utilising our chord strumming pattern that we talked about from earlier. So perhaps what we'll do actually is just go over that first. So for those of you that have the book, if you were to look at page 18, exercise 24, so we're just going to skip back to that briefly. This is the pattern that we're going to use in exercise 29, I think it is. But we're just going to apply it to different chords, and we're going to be sort of working our way through more of a tune rather than just staying on the same thing. So just to demonstrate, number 24, this is on E minor, so we're going to go down, down, up, down. And remember, if you remember back to when we were covering this in more detail a few weeks ago, we talked about possibly saying the word ghost on beat 3, where we've got it's sort of in between the two up strums. So we can go down, down, up, ghost, up, down. And saying the word ghost can sometimes just help remind you that your hand, your right hand or your strumming hand has to move. Yeah, because the easy thing to do is to go down, down, up, and not do anything, and then realise you've got to quickly get your hand back down to do the up strum. So kind of doing, or using the word ghost, or anything you can think of really that just reminds you you've got to do something on that third beat to get your hand back into position to do the next up strum. So let's try it just on that E minor together. So just nice and slow. So after 4, so 3, 4. So down, down, up, ghost, up, down, 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 up, ghost, up, down. Do a couple more. Counting is 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So we just do that last one again, and we'll do it a couple more times. So it's on beat 3, that's where we're going to be doing the ghosting past the string part. So that's in a way the important one, to remember to get your hand into the right position for the final couple of strums. So just a couple more rounds after 4. Okay, so 3, 4. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, so that's the strumming pattern that we're going to be using predominantly in exercise 29. So if we turn to that one now, so this is on page 24 of GuitarQuest 3. So if I just talk you through the first line, we're going to do that strumming pattern on the first 3 bars. So we do it once on G, once on D minor, once on A minor, and then when we get to the C, we're changing it up a little bit. We're going to make the C chord shape, and we're going to go down, up, down, and then nothing on beat 4. So it's 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So that's the first line. When we come on to the second line, it's just a different rhythm altogether. So we're just going to go 1 and 2, 3, 4, and same on the other chords. So what we've got to do there, and what I've suggested is to do 2 down strums, so 1 and, which is kind of breaking the rules we did on the first line, but it's, you know, it's fine to do. Gives it a slightly harder edge, which is good for the context of the song, I think. And then after that, we're going to bring our hand down across the strings just to mute them. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, how you choose to mute the strings is up to you. I would suggest just doing that. You could do something with your left hand, but then you're probably going to come out of the chord shape, which is going to make it more difficult to get back into it, and so on. You know, when you're very confident with it, you can do what you like really, because as long as you get the effect you want and the timing and everything, then it's all fine. So okay, so let's we'll have a go at it in a second. So we talked about line 1, we talked about line 2, line 3 is the same as the first line, and then when we get to the final couple of bars on line 4 there, we just do a single strum on G. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's basically it. So let's give it a go. We're going to start on the G chords. I've talked, just before we do, I talked through how to play all these chords previously, so I'll assume you're okay with them for now. If you've got any questions, do fire away. But hopefully this will all be fine. It's this. These chords are the accompaniment to exercise 28, so it's exactly the same structure. So line 1 twice, line 2 twice, line 3 twice, and then the final line. So here we go. Just take it nice and slow. Okay, so after 4, starting on that G chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4. D minor, A minor, different rhythm on the C. 3, 4, back to G. D minor, A minor, got a rhythm down, down, up, down, different rhythm on the C. 4, and then 2, 3, 4, third line, back to our other pattern. Different rhythm on the C. Or repeat that line. D minor, A minor, then the C with the other pattern, and then we finish with the G. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then strum again. 2. Excellent. Okay, so that's exercise 29. Hopefully that was all okay. Typically, I would say playing chords can be quite challenging initially because you've got to move several fingers at once and so on. So hopefully you're okay with it. The thing to remember with chords, if you're finding them difficult, is that those shapes that you're learning now for these chords, for example, they are always the same. So you could be playing guitar in 20 years time, for example, and someone puts a chord progression in front of you and says play G, A minor and C or whatever. You could play them exactly how we're doing them now. So once you've got them, you kind of got them for life, kind of thing. So it can be frustrating. I do appreciate that. But yeah, try and persevere with it if you can. So okay, so that's pretty much book 3 finished, really. Underneath exercise 29, we've got the answers to the fretboard challenge from earlier in the book. So obviously you can go back and check those off if you haven't already done so. But there is one final idea that I wanted to talk about, and that's tuning the guitar by ear. And so we've got this explained on page 25. So I'm just going to bring that up onto the screen. Just make sure I've got the right page up. So as you know by now, we can find the same note on different strings. So what we have here is this diagram of the fretboard. So we've got our open strings up here, E, A, D, G, B and E, and basically the bottom E we can't find on another string because it's the lowest note on the guitar. So that one is sort of the outlier, if you like. But A we can find on the 6th string at the 5th fret, and D we can find on the 5th string at the 5th, and G is 4th string at the 5th, B is 3rd string 4th, and E is 2nd string 5th. So we'll go over that in more details. I appreciate I did sort of go through that quite quickly there, but the idea then is, in the world with because we've all got digital tuners and stuff, so it's, and they're brilliant. I use them all the time. I don't claim not to, but it is good to know how to tune the guitar by ear, because sometimes your tuner might run out of batteries or whatever it happens to be. Maybe you forgot it, so you need to be able to tune up. So what we have to do is start with one string. We're going to start with the 6th string, which is our bottom E. Now we're just going to assume that that is in tune. Or if you have a piano to hand, or even if you're really old school, you might have a tuning fork or something, and you could tune one of the strings so it sounds the same as a tuning fork. That's pretty rare these days. I think I've only met one person who had a tuning fork, so quite uncommon. But having a piano somewhere which is going to be at the right pitch, or hopefully at the right pitch, that's a bit more likely. So you would tune your bottom E string as best you can, so it's in tune with the piano. And then what we do is we assume that the A on the 6th string at the 5th fret is correct. So we play this note here, 6th string, 5th fret. So the open 5th string should sound the same. And if it doesn't, then the 5th string is out of tune. So if I just detune my, sorry, turn it the wrong way there. I'll detune the 5th string, so to give you a better example. So we know the 6th string 5th fret is the note it should be, that's the correct pitch. Now if I play the open 5th, which I've just detuned, you can hear, hopefully anyway, you can hear that that's lower and therefore not in tune. So what we want to do is just kind of, by ear, we just tighten the string a little bit. Just do it slowly here for the benefit, of you guys watching. And we just keep going up until it starts to sound the same. So you can hear it's getting closer little bit flat, and then we get to get it about right. If you overshoot it, it's just the same thing but the other way. So we know that's correct. We can hear that's a bit high, so we just bring it down until it's about right again. So then we work on the assumption, okay, our E string was in tune and our A string is now in tune. So now we're going to tune the D string, so we play the 5th string 5th fret. We know that that's the correct note, hopefully, because we've tuned it. And so now we listen to the 4th string, we're thinking, does that sound the same? It's like, yeah, okay, because my guitar was in tune anyway, so I know that that's going to be pretty good. You know, when we tune by ear, it's probably going to be less precise than a digital tuner. Unless you tune by ear all the time, then obviously your ears will get very, very good at it. Like I say, I use digital tuners all the time, so you know, I know this is an area I could improve. But with the convenience of tuners, you know, it's just how it is. So, but it is definitely something to know. So, say for example, we're playing the D, we're happy that's in tune. So we know E, A, and D are now in tune. So. Yeah, then we go to the 4th string at the 5th fret, and we play that, and that should be the same as the open G. So that's all fine. Now this is the only one that's different. So we're going to go to the 3rd string 4th fret. That's our B, and that should sound the same as the open 2nd string. You will get slight variations because the strings are different thicknesses and things like that, so tonally they will sound slightly different, but hopefully you get used to hearing them as the same pitch. So that's the idea anyway. And then I'll just detune the 1st string a bit, and we'll do the same again. So we've tuned strings 6, 5, 4, 3 and 2. So now we're going to go back to the 5th fret, playing E, and we know this is in tune. And then we play the 1st string, and go, okay, no, that's a bit low. So we just tighten it up until we get it back to the same pitch. And then what you really want to do is strum some chords and listen very carefully. Does it sound in tune? Because particularly if you've tuned by ear, you might think you've got it right, but actually one's just gone a little bit sharp or a little bit flat. You know, and if you listen to old recordings of guitarists from, you know, before the 90s, I suppose. I'm not quite sure when the digital tuner came out, to be honest. I think it was probably the noughties. But anyway, if you listen, certainly sort of 60s and 70s, old acoustic gigs more so, you might hear guitarists just tuning up, and you know, they'll just be strum a chord and go, ooh, no, that one's a little bit, and they'll just be tweaking it ever so slightly, and you try different chords. Obviously we've only played a certain number of chords, but once you've got a few more under your belt, then you can play a few other ones, and actually playing a few chords further up the fretboard might highlight a couple of issues as well. You know, when we tune down here, we're relying on the guitar being completely in tune with itself, which isn't always the case. And what I mean by that is when we go up the fretboard, the further we go up the fretboard, the more chance there is, if the guitar's not perfectly set up, that the notes will start to go a little bit sharp. So that's something to be aware of. Depending on the type of guitar you've got, you can tweak that a little bit. Yeah, that's like this guitar, for example, the G string, the 3rd string, does go a little bit sharp, I think, as I go further up the fretboard. So if I know I'm going to be playing higher up the fretboard, I might sometimes deliberately detune the 3rd string just a fraction, so that when I'm playing up here, it's suddenly a bit more back in tune again. So that, you know, that's something that I do based on the limitation of the guitar. If hopefully your guitar's perfectly set up and you don't have that problem, but it's not that uncommon, just to put it out there. So yeah, it's tuned by ear. It's just a really good thing to do. And as you're playing, you know, if you notice it and you get used to hearing things, you're thinking, oh, that chord's just something's not sounding quite right. Just adjust something ever so slightly and see. even, you know, if your ears are telling you something and your tuner's telling you something else, it might be your ears are correct and the tuner isn't, because the tuner's tuning perfectly down here, but you're playing up here. So I've just seen a question come through saying, why would you detune it? So for example, if this is perfectly in tune, if I was playing up here, it might be like, maybe that's just a little bit sharp, and I know I'm going to be playing in this area of the fretboard a lot. I might just detune just a fraction, just to bring it back in again. So it's not something that that you need to do. It's just something I thought I might mention. Yeah, it's something. It's just a way of kind of balancing it. If you know that as you go up the fretboard, one of your strings is going a little bit out of tune. But obviously, so far in GuitarQuest 3, in all the GuitarQuest lessons, we haven't gone beyond the 8th fret. So you're probably okay at that point. But as we progress into GuitarQuest 4, we're going to go a little bit higher again. And so you could potentially run into the odd issue there. It depends, like I say, it depends how well your guitar is set up. So, so I see another question there. How important do you think is rhythmic displacement? Depends what you mean by rhythmic displacement. We're just talking about tuning, so I think that's something slightly different. So yeah, please, if you want to elaborate on that, please feel free to do so. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what you mean in the context of tuning there. So. Okay, so that's tuning the guitar by ear. Like I say, it's definitely something worth knowing. Even if you feel you're not very good at it, at least have the idea there so you can tune up if you haven't got a tuner to hand or whatever. So, cool. Okay, so we haven't got that long left. That took a little longer than I thought it would, but a good thing to go over. So I'm just having a look to see. So the things that we've covered in GuitarQuest 3, we've talked about playing 2 notes together, talked about dotted notes, we talked about slurs, which are hammer-ons and pull-offs, and then we also talked about playing in the 2nd position. And my guess is that the slurs, like the hammer-ons and the pull-offs, are perhaps the more challenging thing. So to finish off with today, why don't we go back to exercise 18, which is going to give us a little bit of practice on hammer-ons and pull-offs, and just see how you go with them. I say pull-offs, I think they're all hammer-ons actually, but still, it's going to be good practice. So, okay, so just give you a second to turn to page 13 of GuitarQuest 3. So we're looking at exercise 18 in the fields. And we're in the 2nd position as well actually, so we're going to use our middle finger to play the 6th string 3rd fret, and then we're going to do the open 4th and do a hammer-on to the 2nd fret with our 1st finger, and that's going to give us that rhythm. So we can do thumb on the 6th string and then use our fingers to pluck the other ones. You could do the thumb again if you wanted to. If you do that, you'll be jumping back and forth quite a lot, which is not necessarily a bad thing to develop. It's a good skill. Depending on the style of music you might choose to progress into, that motion on the thumb can become very important actually. So, but yeah, I'll leave that with you. The other thing to watch out for, just in bar 5, we're going to go play the D, and then we're going to do A up to B. So we're going to do a hammer on from the 2nd fret, and then hammer that 3rd finger down to get the B at the 4th. Other than that, it's all pretty repetitive. So we'll give it a go. I say this is one we've covered several weeks ago now. So if you find it tricky, go back and watch the old lessons, and it'll go through it in a lot more detail. So okay, let's give it a go. So starting on that G then, here we go, after 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of repeats. G. Excellent stuff. Okay, right, that is probably going to be a good place for us to finish up today, I think. And that is basically the end of our lessons on GuitarQuest 3. So if you have got this far, I mentioned at the beginning, you should be very proud of yourselves. Give yourself a pat on the back. You know, we've covered a lot of ground in GuitarQuest 3, you know, as we did in the first 2 books as well. Whereas the first 2 books were kind of like just learning the notes, this is kind of just developing the techniques and things a bit more and exploring a little bit more of the neck. So yeah, like I say, I think you should be very proud. So the next week, it's half term around here, so there's not going to be a lesson next week. So we will go on again in 2 weeks' time. So the next one is going to be the 6th of November, and we will be starting GuitarQuest 4. So we may still dip into a couple of examples from GuitarQuest 3 if we need to, but hopefully we shouldn't have to. The one I'm thinking we might do is if we discuss tuning the guitar by ear a little bit more, I might refer back to it. So worth keeping GuitarQuest 3 to hand just in case. So yeah, GuitarQuest 4 in a couple of weeks. I just see a question about struggling with the slur on the 3rd finger. So I assume you mean the A to the B. It is difficult. The things to watch out for would be maybe you know, wherever your finger starts from. If it's quite far away, you could bring it in a little bit closer. If you're not moving the finger fast enough, then the sound just won't come out. So it has to be, you know, within reason. Obviously you want to be careful to a certain extent. It is, you know, it's a hammer on, it's a hammer action. So we're pushing down quite forcefully and we're moving quite quickly to it. So the challenge is to get enough pressure and to coordinate the timing so that it's that and not that kind of thing. But yeah, I do appreciate it's difficult. So, you know, the usual advice, I'm afraid, it's like just got to keep practicing it. So a little bit every day, and it will get there. Just persevere, and you'll be fine with it. So, okay, well, we better finish up there. So, as I say, no lesson next week, so we're back in 2 weeks' time. We'll be starting GuitarQuest 4. So if you enjoyed the lesson today, please do give it a thumbs up, and please share the lessons around with anybody you know who you think may be interested. If you're feeling confident and you want to record yourself playing any exercises, then please do so and put them on YouTube, tag me in them, and I'd very happily have a look at them and see what you're up to and give any advice if I can and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, no class next week. It'll be 2 weeks' time. 6th of November is the next one. So have a brilliant week, everybody. Please practice away as much as you can of anything in GuitarQuest 3 you found difficult, and we will reconvene in a couple of weeks with GuitarQuest 4. So take care, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.